Trying to get underneath once again. He tapped. It's over. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Dude, this guy's the best in the world, man. Wow. Woo! Oh, when he blasts Stipe with a left and a right. Here we go. Stipe's in trouble. Left, another left, the right uppercut. Stipe's in trouble. And now Stipe takes a left. Oh, and it's over. That's it. And new heavyweight champion, baby.
Broadcasting live from an undisclosed location. This is the TCMMA podcast with your host, Chris Cross.
Whoa!
Dana White privilege.
Let's go, baby! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go! Let's go, baby!
Dana White privilege. Privilege. Privilege.
What up, what up? It's your boy Chris Cross checking in. This is the TCMMA podcast, where MMA is the theme and UFC is the dream. Welcome. Big week ahead. Jon Jones puts on the line the heavyweight title, as he called out Stipe Miocic a year and 8 months ago. At that time, it was a ridiculous call out. A year and 8 months later, it's even more ridiculous. But what do you do if you're Dana White? You got to get this fight obviously scheduled, and it was, and get it over with, so Tom Aspinall can get his opportunity to get in the octagon, more than likely against Jon Jones. I mean, the guy's a 7-1 favorite, right? He can't possibly go down, right? I mean, Jon Jones can't possibly lose this week, can he? I mean, does Stipe have any chance? 2 years ago, maybe, but does he have a chance now? Not even 2 years. I say 3 years ago. But we're going to get into that situation and more as we get into today's predictions for UFC 309. But real quickly, recapping two fights that happened this past weekend at a memorable UFC Vegas 100, which saw like 8 or 9 finishes in 11 fights. I mean, it was crazy. But the first one was Gerald Meerschaert, who I did not see falling, was taking on newcomer Reinier de Ridder, who was 17-2. And check out the way this thing finished. And the scramble on the ground continues, but Meerschaert slowing down just a little bit, looking a little tired. Now he gives up the back. And in a fight so technical like this, you slow down a little bit, you're going to put de Ridder in a position to get a finish. So you got to be really careful here. Now de Ridder goes at a full mount. Oh boy, he's got the triangle in. Yeah, and Gerald's in trouble. He's going to have to tap. He does. He taps, and that's it. Wow. Reinier de Ridder comes into the UFC and submits Gerald Meerschaert, who is the all-time leader in submissions in middleweight history. So that's a big win for him. And now the 17-2 record looks even more legitimate. Now he's 18-2 with a UFC victory. And both guys aren't getting up because they're just extremely exhausted. And it really goes to show you, because a lot of this fight was scrambles, takedowns, grappling, and you see how tired both guys are, and it just really shows you that the grappling game is very tiring. Very tiring. But this one goes the way of de Ridder. 18-2 here, middleweight division. Big finish over Gerald Meerschaert here at UFC Vegas 100. Yeah, so a huge finish for de Ridder in his UFC debut against a guy who, again, holds the record. Regardless of what they tell you about Gerald Meerschaert, he holds the record for most submissions and most finishes in middleweight division history. So that's a big win on your resume in your first fight if you're de Ridder. Then in the main event, you had Magny versus Prates, and this one did not last long at all. Magny's still hanging on here. Backed up against the fence, and Prates will let him go. Smart. If you're Prates right now, and you got Neil Magny looking at the clock, he's trying to get out of this round with 25 seconds left, you got to separate. And there we go, finally. And Magny looks at the clock again, 20 seconds left, he's tired. Prates got to go for it right now. Magny backing up, drives up the knee. Oh, it's over. I don't even know how it ended. Carlos Prates finishes Neil Magny, and we're going to have to see the replay. I mean, I don't know if it came before, but Neil Magny is finished. And I didn't see anything land. I got to see this replay. The KO comes with 8 seconds left in round number 1, and we'll take that victory. We needed it. He's 21, or we're 21 and 17 in the main event now. So a little separation. And the win streak is on with Jon Jones on deck next week. We know we're getting that one. Here we go. Here we go. Okay, he misses on the left. Yeah, I don't see what hit him. Oh, okay, so it brushed over the head of Magny. Yeah, and he went right down. So the left just, I mean, literally just brushed over the top of Neil Magny's head from the other angle. It looked like it didn't even land, and Neil Magny goes right down. Unbelievable finish for Carlos Prates. Now imagine if he catches you. Imagine if he catches you in total, in full effect. So this guy's got a lot of power in this welterweight division. He's coming. And he's Brazilian. You know, we like that. He's now 21 and 6, welterweight division. UFC Vegas 100. Yeah, so big win last night for Carlos Prates in dominant fashion over a very good fighter in Neil Magny, and that ups his stock tremendously. And many are saying today it was the phantom punch because it like slid over the top of his head. It didn't even look like a KO, but it was. And that's the bottom line because Neil Magny couldn't respond. I mean, it was over like that. So Carlos Prates gets the big win. And the reason why we're covering this today is because we now got the win streak started, 2 in a row. So we're back to 21 and 17 in the main event. We'd have to lose the next 4 weeks. There's only 4 weeks left in the year just to be 500 at 21 and 21. But we'll get more than likely the win this week. We better. And then hopefully we can continue rolling through the end of the year and get to like 25 and 17. That would be more respectable and more in line with what we're used to. But even in a rough year for us, we're still up by 4 in the win column and approaching 100 more wins and losses in all predictions for the year. So that's where things stand. As we dive into this week, before we get there, let's take a look at the due list as we always do on pay-per-view week. This is what it looks like. Of course, Hamza still remains number 1. It only backed that up even more when he beat Robert Whittaker. So he's off right now. He should be in white. Jon Jones number 2. That's why we're showing this to you. I mean, he's right there with Hamza. Jon Jones is a guy that I really like. Want to see him win. Of course, I'm not happy he's fighting Tom Aspinall. Or, excuse me, he should be fighting Tom Aspinall, but he's fighting Stipe. I'm not happy about that. But hopefully, you know, he can get past this and get to Tom Aspinall pretty quickly. Then you got Alex Pereira, Makhachev, Shavkat, who right now has no opponent, but maybe he will against Usman. We'll see. Dricus du Plessis, right? It's a 1 versus 6 if he fights Hamza. Ilia Topuria with the big win over Max Holloway. Merab Dvalishvili, obviously. Tom Aspinall's in there. Max Holloway still holding it down in the top 10, waiting to see what he can do in the lightweight division. So, you know, you got these guys and a lot of fighters up and coming, making things very interesting as time goes forward. So that's the way the due list looks right now, heading into pay-per-view week. Now we're getting into all the main card predictions here in a minute. Some fights in the early prelims, which at the time of this, we have not done the predictions for these yet, but you got Veronica Hardy versus Eduarda Mora, Venezuela versus Brazil, right? Hardy's a slight favorite in that one. Then in a welterweight division, you got Hafez versus Oban Elliott. Should be a good one, right? USA versus Wales. Mickey Gall is back fighting Ramiz Brahima. That's USA versus USA. And then in the heavyweight division, things get interesting. You got Marcin Tybura versus Jonata Diniz, who was supposed to fight a few weeks ago. And Derek Lewis, I believe it was, had to pull out. So Jonata gets a quick turnaround. Then things get even better. Lightweight division, Jim Miller, the aging Jim Miller versus Damon Jackson, who looks youthful in this fight. Still not that young, but he looks youthful against an older Jim Miller. Then, of course, Chris Weidman versus Eric Anders. Fully expect Weidman to come back and get the victory, right? He's 41 now, but he's still very capable of winning. And then one in the bantamweight I like, the prelim main event, if you will, Jonathan Martinez versus Marcus McGee, 19-5 versus 9-1. How good is Marcus McGee? And that fight's a toss-up. So that's your basically all your prelim fights right there, right? Those are your prelim fights, and it's a good preliminary card. Of course, the main card, things get even better. So beginning in the very first fight, lightweight division, right? Main card, best division in the UFC. This is a good one. Mauricio Ruffy, 10-1 versus James Yontop, 14-4. This is Brazil versus Peru. Let's get into this one right now. In the lightweight division, the best division in the UFC at UFC 309. Most competitive division for sure. You got Mauricio Ruffy taking on James Yontop. Ruffy 10-1, Yontop 14-4. Brazil versus Peru. Oh my goodness. Ruffy's 1 inch shorter at 5'11". He's 28. Yontop 25. So both guys still getting better, especially over the next 3 to 5 years. Ruffy 2-inch reach advantage. He stands right-handed. So does Yontop. Both guys right around 5 significant strikes per minute. Although Yontop, based on the numbers, will land like 5 to 7 more on average throughout the fight. But it's very, very close. Takedown game, none for either fighter so far. Now Ruffy, in his first 2 fights, both wins at the Contender Series, won by KO. Beat Jamie Malarkey by first round KO, just inside the bell, 4:42 into the fight. So, so far so good. Yontop has given up some takedowns and lost to Vyacheslav Borshev by split decision, lost to Chris Padilla by submission, beat Malik Lewis at the Contender Series. So, a little bit of trouble for Yontop so far. Mauricio Ruffy has looked good, right? Both these guys need more experience to make a legitimate prediction here. But based off what we're seeing so far, we got to lean towards Mauricio Ruffy. Plus, he's Brazilian, and I'm leaning that way anyway. As far as the numbers, it's going to be close, though. Yontop has given up takedowns, so we'll see if Ruffy takes that angle. But even on the feet, I think Ruffy will outpace Yontop, even though the numbers look the other way right now. Yontop in losses is still averaging more activity, significant strikes on the feet than Ruffy. But Ruffy is 10-1 for a reason. In a very tough division, I expect him to win this thing by decision, either on the feet or on the ground, wherever he wants to take it, to move to 11-1. Lightweight division, UFC 309. Yeah, so we expect that to be a closer fight than it looks in terms of the odds, right? With Ruffy being a 10-1 favorite, that's crazy. Yontop 6-1 underdog. Of course, we think Mauricio Ruffy's going to win the fight. I'm always going to take the Brazilian, especially when the odds are in their favor. No way I'm going against the Brazilian. But the fight's going to be closer, at least it looks like on paper, than the odds would indicate. Now, moving forward in the women's flyweight division, you got Vivian Araujo coming in at 12-6, taking on Karine Silva, 18-4. You got to love this. Brazil on Brazil. Let's get into this one right now. In the women's flyweight division at UFC 309, you got Vivian Araujo taking on Karine Silva. And this is Brazil on Brazil. The stakes don't get bigger than this. And this is in the pay-per-view. Araujo 12-6, Silva 18-4. Silva's 1 inch taller at 5'5". She's just 30, right smack in the middle of the prime window. Araujo 37 years old. But what we've seen is older fighters in the women's divisions continue to get better till about 37, 38, 39. So keep that in mind. Araujo 1 inch reach advantage. They both stand right-handed. Araujo's more active with 4.1 significant strikes per minute to 2.7 for Silva. Now the takedown game swings the other way. 3.6 takedowns per 3 rounds for Silva. That's more than 1 per round. Vivian lands like 1 every other round. But she does have a 78% takedown defense. That's big. And hasn't been finished, at least in the UFC. For sure. She may not have been finished ever. There's 1 loss outside the UFC. Now, Vivian lost to Natalia Silva. Very good fighter by decision. Got dominated. Beat Jennifer Maia by decision. Lost to Amanda Ribas and Alexa Grasso. So she's lost 3 of the last 4. And when you scroll down, you see all decisions. except in her UFC debut against Talita Bernardo back in 2019. She landed the KO in the debut. But every fight has been a decision since then. So this fight could go the distance for sure. Silva recently beat Ariane Silva by decision, submitted Marina Moros, and beat Ketlin Souza by submission. So very, very tough fighter on the ground. Vivian is no slouch there as well. Of course, it's Brazil on Brazil. But Karine Silva is just dominant. She's just dominant. She doesn't have the experience of Vivian Araujo, but at the same time, she's just balling, for lack of better words. I mean, she's just dominant so far in the UFC, and I think that's going to continue, right? She's 5-0 in the UFC, including 4 submissions. So I look for her to win this fight, and if it does go to a decision, which more than likely it will, she's going to have to fight well. It's not going to be easy. Her opponent is very skilled and knows how to win decisions. Very hard to finish. So you got to expect it's going to go to a decision. Silva's going to have to strike better or really dominate the ground, which is possible. So we're really not going to know till we see it. But, looking at past fights and things of that nature and skill and ability and where these fighters are going, got to lean with Karine Silva to get the job done. Not on the feet, but with takedowns and control time. And keep it close. In significant strikes, she's got to land ground and pound. She's got to really focus on that. If she's just going for submissions the whole time, it's not going to go well, right? Because the striking is everything, and her opponent leads in that area. So look for Karine Silva to dominate the ground, utilize a ground and pound, and maintain position over submission to get the win here. Women's flyweight division, UFC 309. So that's going to be important, right? Position over submission. If she's trying to get submissions and loses control, that's obviously not good for any fighter. But in this fight where it's going to be very technical, Brazil on Brazil, Karine Silva's got the ability to maintain position if she so chooses. And that's the route she should take. Now in fight 3, huge fight, middleweight division, Bo Nickel, undefeated, 6-0, all the hype in the world, takes on Paul Craig, who's 17-8. And many people are going to dismiss Paul Craig here, but this is a veteran. This is a good fight for Bo Nickel to take, in my opinion. Yeah, he's a 10-1 favorite, but it's moving up a level, not going up too fast and not too slow. Perfect fight. Perfect fight. But is Bo Nickel as good as he says he is? I mean, we got him on the do list in the top 20 for a reason. So let's get into it right now. In the middleweight division at UFC 309, you got Bo Nickel, undefeated, taking on Paul Craig, who comes in as 17-8. So, got a guy very early in the career in Bo Nickel against a true veteran in Paul Craig. Craig is 2 inches taller at 6'3". He's 36 years old. Bo Nickel just 28. So Bo Nickel's like right in the prime. Both guys similar reach. Bo Nickel stands left-handed. Paul Craig stands right-handed. Paul Craig 2.5 significant strikes per minute. Bo Nickel 1.6. So not much happening on the feet for these two. But we know Bo Nickel is way better in terms of landing takedowns. He's going to be aggressive. He lands nearly, well over 2 takedowns per round, not per fight, per round. Paul Craig gets like 2 every fight. So he's no slouch on the ground. Bo Nickel hasn't had to defend any takedowns because he goes right in, and that's what he wants to do, or he's going to finish it quickly. So far, beat Cody Brundage by submission in the second round. Val Woodburn by KO. Submitted Jamie Pickett and won the previous 2 by submission. So 4 submissions, 1 KO. Just impressive right now. Paul Craig, again a veteran. Fought Kyle Barajo, second round KO loss. Brendan Allen, submission, 3rd round. So he's fighting some good dudes, right? He's got some experience. That's the key here for Bo Nickel too in this fight. Paul Craig did beat Andre Muniz by KO. So listen, Paul Craig is a good fighter. He's not elite. I mean, well, he is elite, but he's not the elite of the elite. Bo Nickel believes he is. So this is a fight he has to win, and I think he will win. And I think he does it in dominant fashion by round 2, because Paul Craig is tough. He does it to remain undefeated here, likely by another submission, but Possible KO too. Keep an eye on that. But he gets a dub here, middleweight division, UFC 309. So obviously we got Bo Nickel winning that fight in dominant fashion. I mean, yeah, he's moving up levels, but this is a fight that he's got to win, and he's got to get the finish, right? Because if he has a setback here and this is a close fight, a lot of questions are going to have to be answered. So I don't think he wants to answer those questions, and Bo Nickel's that dude, and I fully expect him to come in and dominate this fight. Now in the co-main event, it just gets even more ridiculous with the big rematch, right? Years later, 34-10 Brazilian Charles Oliveira takes on 23-8 Michael Chandler. He said, forget Conor McGregor. I can't wait anymore. I got to fight. And he wants the rematch with Oliveira when they fought for the title. Chandler nearly won in the first round, and Oliveira came back and got the submission. So what's going to happen here in the rematch? I don't know. Let's get into it right now. In the lightweight division at UFC 309, co-main event, Charles Oliveira takes on Michael Chandler, the rematch. These are two of the baddest dudes on the planet in one of the best divisions, if not the best, in the UFC. Now, Oliveira's 2 inches taller at 5'10". He's 35. Chandler's 38. Oliveira's got a 2-inch reach advantage. Both guys stand right-handed. Charles Oliveira just 3.4 significant strikes per minute. Chandler's right near 5 per minute. Both guys land exactly, or roughly, I should say, but got the same exact number, right around 2 takedowns every 3 rounds. So you can see why Oliveira wants to get this to the ground if possible. But, you know, he's got to stand up and strike again. He'll do it that way too, seems like. He's got like a 55% takedown defense too, Charles Oliveira. Not great. Lost the last one to Arman Tsarukyan by split decision. Terrible. Beat Dariush, lost to Islam Makhachev by submission. At that point in time, he had won many fights in a row, like 11 roughly, before losing 2 or 3. So, you know, these two last fought in 2021. It was a KO by Oliveira in the second round, but at different points in the fight, it looked like it could go either way, or the other way for that matter. Chandler 71% takedown defense. He lost to DP Dustin Poirier by submission in the last fight, beat Tony Ferguson before that, lost to Gaethje and Oliveira. So he's struggling a little bit. I feel like maybe the tables have turned a little because he's well rested, but so is Oliveira. And it's hard to, you know, go against Oliveira right now. He's just 35 years old. He's got a good 2 or 3 years left. And I just think, as, you know, last time they fought, it was, 31 and 34, 32 and 35, something like that. Now both of these guys are getting older, but Oliveira is still closer to that peak form than Chandler. And he beat him the last time, so I got no choice but to go with Oliveira to get the W here and win this fight, obviously. Very tough, close call, likely decision this time. I think they're going to go the distance. It's going to be an absolute battle. And again, one of the best divisions in the UFC. Charles Oliveira gets the job done, UFC 309. So it looks to me like this is going to be a very similar fight. I mean, Michael Chandler has every opportunity to win, but you got to think that Charles Oliveira is done. And I don't think Charles Oliveira is done. I just think he ran into a wall in Islam Makhachev. So I still think he comes back here and gets the win. Plus, he's got the memory of beating Michael Chandler, who's refreshed, but so is Oliveira. Neither of these guys have been in the octagon for a while. So look for a very close and competitive fight that Oliveira will win once again. Now it's a time. Let's jump into the main event. Jon Jones versus Stipe Miocic. Kind of ridiculous. Miocic hasn't won a fight in almost 4 years, but here we are. Now let's look back real quick. This is how it happened when Jon Jones captured the heavyweight title. Let's go, Jon. Trying to get underneath once again. He tapped. It's over. Let's go. Let's go. Let's go. Yes. Dude, this guy's the best in the world, man. Wow. Woo! Let's go. Francis Ngannou is going to have to come back now. That didn't take any time. Wow. Straight to the takedown, the back. And Cyril can't believe it. You don't want to talk to anybody right now. Wow. The fans are like stunned. That was fast. Light heavyweight champ. Now the heavyweight champ. 3 years of time. Paid off. All the questions are answered. Fans are chanting USA. So he made quick work of Cyril Gane in that fight. And almost, I mean, even said, not almost, but said more or less that he was kind of disappointed. It only lasted, 124 seconds, somewhere along those lines. He remembers sitting on top of the cage and thinking, man, that was fast. That was fast. And yes, it was. He would have liked a longer fight. Stipe, in his last fight, was against Francis Ngannou, and this thing didn't last long at all. Stipe comes in and takes a left. Man, that hurt. Boy, Ngannou looking strong here in terms of striking. And really focused and confident here in the second round. Oh, when he blasts Stipe with a left and a right. Here we go. Stipe's in trouble. Left, another left, the right uppercut. Stipe's in trouble. And now Stipe takes a left. Oh, and it's over. That's it. And new heavyweight champion, baby. The longtime heavyweight champion is no more. And we have a new heavyweight champion, baby. Just as predicted. You can get on me about the predictions if you want to. But when it comes to the main event, our record is impeccable. Francis Ngannou as well made quick work of Stipe Miocic, and that's why many people are questioning this fight, right? Think Tom Aspinall is more worthy. Not only did Stipe lose his last fight years ago, he hasn't won in like 4 years. But nonetheless, we get this fight. Jon Jones says Stipe is the greatest heavyweight of all time. Of course, that's how it's being built up. But the key word there is was, not is. He was one of the greatest heavyweights of all time. But this is 4 years since he's won a fight. So how's this fight going to go? Well, Jon Jones is a major favorite. So let's jump into it right now. In the heavyweight division at UFC 309, this is for the heavyweight division title. Let's go. Current champion, Jon Jones, takes on old school champion, and I mean old school, Stipe Miocic. We'll explain as we go, as if you don't already know. But Jon Jones is 27-1. It's ridiculous. Miocic, 20-4. But listen, he's been out of the game for a little bit. Both guys 6'4". Miocic, 42 years old. You heard that right. 42. Jon Jones, 37. Jon Jones, 5-inch reach advantage, 85-80. Both guys stand right-handed. Jon Jones, 4.3 significant strikes per minute. Stipe, 4.8. Both guys land like 2 takedowns over the course of 3 rounds. So you might get 3 or 4 takedowns in this fight. And, it's a big fight in an old school way because Jon Jones is still right there. I mean, he's still legit. He's still one of the best in the game. That's why I got him number 2 on the dude list, if not the best in the game. I mean, he's 27-1, and the one loss wasn't really a loss, right? I mean, it is officially, but it shouldn't have been. And Stipe hasn't had a win in 4 years. So that's the situation at hand. Many people want to see Tom Aspinall in this fight. We didn't get it. But Jon Jones, when you look at his numbers, 95% takedown defense. So it's going to be hard for Stipe to land a takedown. He won the belt against Cyril Gane by submission. That's his only heavyweight fight. So all the other fights are meaningless, right? But you beat Cyril Gane in the first round and hold Cyril Gane to like 6 significant strikes. Land 2 takedowns and just dominate him. Forget about it. Now here's the interesting thing that people are scratching their head. Well, first of all, Stipe 68% takedown defense. All right. But he lost to Francis Ngannou by KO. Now, I didn't realize he beat Ngannou back in the day. I forgot about that. But Ngannou KO'd him in the second round to get the belt. Or that, I mean, you got to go back to Daniel Cormier, his last win. Daniel Cormier has been in the broadcast booth for what seems like forever. His last win was against Daniel Cormier, August 15, 2020. You're talking over 4 years since his last win. And he beat Daniel Cormier back-to-back before sustaining a loss in the first fight. Before that, he beat Francis Ngannou. But all those are from 2018 to 2020. So how's he getting this fight with Jon Jones? Because Jon Jones wants to fight. Why? Because it's the easiest fight to take. Yeah, it's a legends fight. But this fight shouldn't last more than 2 minutes. Jon Jones should just dominate him. Okay? Now, how will this fight play out? Maybe, I hate to say it, but maybe Jon Jones lets him stick around for a while to make it look like a good fight. But in reality, Jon Jones should dominate this fight and finish this thing in 2 minutes. It's plain and simple. He should win, move to 28-1, and then either you retire or you take on Tom Aspinall. We aren't having anything else, and I feel bad for Tom Aspinall because he might have to wait for a long time. That's just the MO of Jon Jones, as we've seen. But listen, I love the guy. He's number 2 on the do list. He's going to dominate this fight. He should. It's just not the fight that he should be involved in. But Jon Jones moves to 28-1, gets the win here. Heavyweight division for the title, main event, UFC 309. Real simple. That's the way we see it. Jon Jones should win this fight and should win this fight early in dominant fashion. But I have a weird feeling that he's not going to make quick work of Stipe just because of what he said, winning the last fight in disappointment in just over 2 minutes over Cyril Gane, right? He wants a better battle. Can Stipe really give it to him? I don't think so. But I think Jon Jones wants to be in there for a while and make it look like a fight, which is going to be a weird situation because then you put yourself at risk. If you're Jon Jones, just go in there and get the quick victory the way you know you can. But listen, that's what it looks like this week. It's going to be a fiery, a crazy week, especially when the heavyweight title is on the line and nobody knows what will happen. I mean, of course, I think Jon Jones will dominate. You more or less probably think Jon Jones will dominate. We all do. But you never know until the fight happens. So it's still going to be highly interesting. But for now, listen, this is your boy Chris Cross. Hope you have a great day and God bless. As always, peace.